All right. So for all of our listeners out there, you're in a very unique spot compared to where most people are. Where are you currently located at?
I am currently stationed at Lajes Field, Portugal, which is in one of the Azores Islands, Terceira. Uh, so yeah, I'm in Portugal, y'all. Like, you
Yeah,
can't
how the
believe
hell
it.
did that happen? I got Edwards. Nothing against Edwards, but
My overseas list dropped, and there was three bases. It was Incirlik, Osan, and Lajes. And my wife and I, we talked a lot. She was really upset because she don't know how the system works.
yeah,
And she was like, dang, like you have to leave me for a year. I was like, all right, but one of these options is Europe and you can visit me. So let's try it. And it was just perfect. The report no later than the date lined up perfectly with my time being done as a instructor. It was just everything was is lined up perfectly. And the position was for it was one slot deep for a tech sergeant and yeah, it just lined up.
perfect. How's it been with family?
Yeah. It's been good. We spent a little bit of time separated so far. I've only been here for a little bit over a month. They went to the States for my little sister's graduation from USC. Shout out to her. She's got her master's in cinematic arts. But now they're here with me for just a little bit. And then because of the short tour, they'll be going back to Germany. So we'll be doing long distance so the little one can start kindergarten.
Yeah, the beauty of social media and technology like it is now is it's not like 1989 where kid starts kindergarten and you're seeing Polaroid pictures. At least you can
Yeah, right.
show that on video.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
well, I want to put you through the rapid fires. I'm curious about your answers to some of these responses here.
All right, let's
First
get it.
one, book recommendation.
The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Okay, good book. I think we
Yeah.
talked about that one last time we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good book.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. I can give another one
let's do
if you
two.
want. Okay, cool. Right now I'm reading this book called um, it's pretty much just called Lucid Dreaming. I can get you the title for it later on, the official title for it later. But I lucid dream a lot, and
Yeah.
you're about to hear a loud pop because of the festivals that are going on. But uh, I had issues controlling my dreams, so the sleep doctor at Ramstein pretty much taught me like some Inception type stuff. Taught me how to uh, kind of control my dreams a little bit better, so that way I wouldn't wake up having nightmares and too much sleep paralysis and stuff. So this book he recommended has been really helping me a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now I'm intrigued by that because Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, I think. It's like
Hmm.
one of the best books I've read in terms of
Yeah.
just how our mind and why it's so important to get sleep. Okay. Yeah, definitely hook me up with that and we'll put that in the
Yeah.
recent recommendations. Uh what's a fear you have?
Okay, cool. I think I fear, and it sounds a little narcissistic, but I think I have a different way of explaining it. I think I have a fear of not making a difference. And that kind of sounds like not being forgotten, but I think what you do, if you really affect people in a positive way, that's how you live forever. So if I did something really great for you, and you paid it forward and you started doing that, and then three other people started paying it forward,
Mhm.
um, I feel like I helped make a change like that. So I kind of think about that every day when I leave the house. What type of energy did I put out into the world? And I do have this fear that I was like, I feel like I was toxic for a pretty decent time in my early 20s. Have I done enough positive in my life now to not be like a negative effect? Am I a villain in somebody's story right now? I think that's a fear that I have.
Mm, that's true. Yeah. Especially when you start getting into a lot of this self-reflection, all
Mhm.
these assessments that are out there. And
Yeah.
we had there was someone in the PME world, she's probably listening to this episode, and we were doing five voices. You're very
Mhm.
familiar with that. Yep. I think we were actually in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
certification course. Yep. And
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so I was doing a thing with five voices where I would put people in five different groups and I would have an inject in each group that was one of the different voices. And the nurturer group, I had someone that it was actually two people in that one. And I had somebody throw out an idea, but I had somebody like really, kind of get rude and shut them down and go like, it's not a very feasible idea. Let's go with somebody else. What else do y'all have? And that person was supposed to just shut down and be on their phone. And even if you ask them like, hey, what you got? They'd be like, I got nothing. I'm good. And
Yeah.
the one that was not in on that group, and there was like maybe 6 or 7 in the group. One person was not in on it, and they were like, "Yeah, that's a stupid idea," and they were piggybacking off of the other person. So at the end, when I was like, "Hey, Scooby Doo moment, take your mask off," who was my inject, that person was so shaken up by how they treated that person in the group because I was like, yeah, I heard, and you shut them
Mhm.
down as well, to where they were talking to me. I swear it was like the whole duration of the course. They were like, I can't believe I've been treating people like that my whole life. I know I've been treating people
Mhm.
like that for 30 some years. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
it was just eye opening to them to think of, like you said, that you're the villain in somebody's story somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what are you doing to fix that? So yeah, good stuff. Uh, I'm really curious about this one. What is a song that you work out to, or just driving down the road that you listen to, that when someone else gets near you, you turn that volume down a little bit. You don't want them to know you're listening to them.
A cool thing that I started doing a lot of negatives when I work out. That has made a huge difference in my body and strength and endurance. So
This is great.
on leg day, I listen to slow jams, and but I wouldn't say the song is that slow, but it's definitely like a song that if you heard a grown man belting, you just kind of look at it a little bit funny. But "Scars to You're Beautiful" by Alicia Cara.
Okay.
That's my jam. That like when I pull up to the gate, I'm like, all right, let me put some hip hop on real quick before I pull up to the
Yeah.
gate.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one. What is a movie that you hate that everybody else loves,
Ooh,
or a TV show?
mm, TV show. Hate that everybody else loves. Um, Man, I'm probably gonna get a. And the thing is, I can quote some lines from this show, but I never got the funny from it. I never was like too caught up in the show. And man, I'm probably gonna lose some friends from this one. But Friends,
Oh,
um,
my wife. Ooh,
yeah, yeah. Friend
on
and my wife
repeat.
loves Friends, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, and she'll make references. Remember when Joey did this? I'm like, I know who you're talking about. But nah, it just didn't do it for me. Maybe if I rewatch it now, older, but nah, it's not all that for me.
Isn't it always like the worst feeling when you try to like tell a story from a TV show or a movie to somebody and they have no idea what you're
Yes,
talking about,
it's the
and
worst. And
or they tell it to you and they're like, yeah, it's from like Big Bang Theory, and I'm like, I, I don't know what you're talking about. I
yeah,
would
I was just at a barbecue and a girl made a reference to what's that show? Uh,
The Office,
Bridgerton,
Bridgerton.
and she assumed everyone. Yeah, yeah, and she was the only one laughing at her own joke, and we were just like, yeah, we haven't seen it, and she's like, oh, I just felt so bad for her because I was like, dang, like it, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Mine was Sons of Anarchy. Most people who've
uh,
watched it all the way through, they'll swear by it, but I just couldn't get it.
yeah, I haven't watched it all the way through either.
All right, last one for you. Dinner for three historical figures that are no longer with us. Who do you dine with?
Oof. Okay. Um, that's interesting. That's a good one. I really would want to sit down and talk with Chadwick Boseman. He's one of my
Yeah.
favorite artists. Um, just and I can give reasons why later, but Chadwick Boseman, um,
Social media hate for him was just
nuts. Oh boy. Oh, I was so heated. All right, don't get me started. Chadwick Boseman for sure. I would really love to see like the mindset of um, the latter part of his life, he started to change his change his energy, I'll say, towards the latter part of his life. So really love to see have a conversation with him.
Who is that now? Because
And then
audio went out a little bit.
oh, sorry, Malcolm X.
Oh, Malcolm X. Okay.
Yeah, and I I want to say, man, this is a really good one because there's a couple people that I watch like a history show and I'm like, dang, I wonder what they think about. But and I have this thing where I know like a lot of random animal facts, and I love animals probably because I grew up watching Animal Planet as a kid. Grandma didn't have cable, but Steve Irwin, man, I've been to Australia a couple times, and
Yeah.
this meeting Australians that I know are so awesome. Uh, yeah, Steve Irwin would be one of those people that I would want to have dinner with. I think it'd be a good time.
That's interesting. I would love to
Yeah,
just him and Malcolm X just conversing.
yeah,
Like what do they talk about?
yeah. This is yeah, exactly. I think those three at a table, it would be so vastly different, but similar in their own different ways. So
Okay. Well, you survived those rapid fire questions, and now we're going to get into your journey. So, if you could take us back to what was young George Lennon like as a kid, what did your parents do? Like, what was your upbringing like?
mhm. Let's see. We moved around a lot. The longest I actually lived anywhere was my last duty station, Ramstein. I was there for 6 years. That's the longest I ever lived in one place
Were
because
your
we moved
parents
around so much.
military?
My dad was in the Air Force.
Hmm.
He was aircraft maintenance. Then he became a recruiter. Um, and then my mom, she got so many certifications. Uh, like everywhere they moved, my mom would like capitalize on that and like get jobs there and um, do things. So we just moved a lot. But I was a very goofy and outgoing little kid. Something happened in middle school. And now as I've gone through therapy and self-reflected a lot, I realized there's a lot of trauma that kind of changed my personality a little bit
Hmm.
in middle school. Um, but I was very recluse. I still was kind of like that kid you would be friends with because I was just friendly. But just looking at how I was as a kid, how I was in middle school, and then looking at how I am now, that time frame before my healing, I would say started. I was definitely quiet nerd, just Game Boy, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, just going to school, stuff like that. And then closer to seventh, eighth grade, going to high school and college, that's when I broke back out of my shell uh, and who I am today. But um, in first grade, since my dad still, the way his orders were set up, school started for me um, well after he would have PCS. So my parents sent me to live with my grandparents so I could start school on time and not have to PCS in the middle of the school year.
Where was this at?
So I live. This is I was born in Virginia. Then we moved to Shepherd, where my dad, I believe he was an instructor. I know he's aircraft maintenance for, I believe, 15s. Um, and then, yeah, they sent me to Jersey
Hmm.
to be with my grandparents. And
Okay.
man, those are like my earliest memories, like everything with my grandparents. Being home before the street lights come on, being able to play from this end of the block to that end of the block, and everybody
Good
knows Miss
days.
Jackson. Yeah, they'll call my granddad out to open up the fire hydrant, and we'd like have a block party until the firefighters came, and we're like kind of annoyed, but
And then you had the little
but
like electric boxes that were like outside that everybody just
oh
sat
yeah,
on.
that was base. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
base.
Yeah. Kids now don't
Yeah,
we sound like two old guys, but kids now
yeah,
do
man.
not understand.
Yeah, that was it. And the cool thing about that culture is when I tell these stories to my wife Cindy, besides the fire hydrant block parties, she grew up the same way.
Hmm.
She grew up, middle class family, lower middle class, and she could play anywhere from, this corner to that corner, playing, tag on base, on base, got to be home before the streetlights come on. Like that whole thing, like the village raising you, like I think that's pretty cool that culturally like, we're on different sides of the world and she was raised similarly.
Yeah. A couple of things there. You mentioned your dad was Air Force. Did that have any
Yeah.
factor into you joining the military?
I my dad is a huge Star Wars fan, and I think he low key did the Jedi mind trick for about 18 years.
Okay.
Uh, he never straight up said, George, you should join the Air Force, but by him being a recruiter, he had all these opportunities to
Oh
go to
yeah.
air shows, free basketball games, free baseball games, free monster truck rallies. And then he got to wear this cool blue suit, and blue is my favorite color. And I was like, dang, like my
Till
dad gets
you
to wear this
wear it.
blue suit everywhere we go. Yeah, right. So he never straight up told me I should join the Air Force, but being a product of the Air Force's benefits, I always knew I would join the Air Force.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, did you have any other aspirations before setting your sights on military?
Yeah, yeah. As a kid, I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, um, and unfortunately, my parents didn't have enough money to send me to ninja school. Had the turtle part down. No, but
Let me
no,
ask you
but
because you can see
seriously,
behind me. I love me some
I have
turtle.
a propensity for
Who
yeah.
who's the best turtle?
Ooh, the best?
Yeah.
That's a hard question, man. That's
This has
hard
a this
because
this determines how long this episode goes.
yeah, because I I already had a what is it, a bias towards Leo as a kid because blue was my favorite color.
Good
And
leader.
then yeah, and red was my second favorite color. So I was like, oh shoot, like I love how like brash, like just like I don't know, kind of impulsive Raph was.
Yeah, he's got
And he was just
zero
so cool to
EQ.
me.
No EQ.
Yeah, yeah. But Mikey was me. He was funny. He
Yeah.
was, but he could still fight, but he still was like the glue for the team. So, and then I like how Donnie was smart, but he had a stick. And as a kid, I didn't really care about the stick. I always leaned towards Mikey.
All right. I mean, I can go with that.
Yeah. What about you? What about you?
Oh, Donatello.
Okay.
He's
Respect.
smart,
Respect.
killed
Yeah.
Shredder, created a portal. I mean, he did so many good
He
things
was
for
the,
me.
yeah.
Very underrated. On the video game,
Yeah.
he's the best one to have because he grabs a stick,
True.
fling you.
In
Yeah.
slings, yeah, and
Yeah.
slides and stuff. Yeah,
Raphael's
we
too
would go on.
emotional.
Mm,
Too
mm,
emotional. Leonardo is underrated. He's a good leader.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Mikey, he's got the personality. So okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so parents didn't send you to ninja school.
Yeah. So, and I always wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be Jamie Foxx. Um, seeing him on TV all the time, like this man could act, sing, comedy, um, like, and he was dark skinned like me,
Mhm.
like I would watch, there'll be the Fresh Prince, there'll be the L Cool J show, there was Martin, but Martin wasn't really a singer and a dancer. So like, I just gravitated towards, Jamie Foxx. I was like, dang, I could be like him. I could do that stuff. People laugh when I say goofy things. And just growing up, I wanted to be an entertainer. And then my parents kind of hit me with the reality of like, that's great. You could do that, but you're not a prodigy. So you're gonna need you're gonna
Yeah.
need to learn like some other skills as well. So I'm thinking about that. And I just over time, I just realized that I always loved science and the human body and animals and things like that. And through some things that happened, like I got injured and had to go to physical therapy. My physical therapist, pretty much the way I looked at it, he gave me my life back.
Hmm.
So if it wasn't for my physical therapist, I would have walked with a limp, which which affected my running, which affected like the clothes I could buy because one thigh was bigger than the other. So I would have to like tear my underwear because it'd be too tight on one leg
Jeez.
and
What happened?
like a soccer injury.
Hmm.
I got slide tackled so many times to the point where, yeah, I was just hurt. So, but put me in physical, and I'm a boy, right? Like, dad to say
Yeah, put
tough it
dirt
out,
on it.
yeah, and get back up and keep running. So for 3 years, I ran with a limp, and then I went to a physical therapist that helps people who are in the military already. So I was like, all right, bet. I know I want to join, so this guy can help me so that way I can do the PT test to join. And yeah, he literally gave my life back. He also was like kind of this goofy motivational speaker. So I think like me being a spoken word artist and also
Mm,
on the path to go towards physical therapy, I'm kind of following his footsteps in a sense. But the fact that me and one of the teachers from my high school was one of his patients, and I think she was maybe 50 going on 60 something, and me being a teenager and two different age brackets, and he's giving our life back to me. I was like, dang, that's amazing. You know, like he's literally helping us get back to doing what we love to do,
yeah.
and finding new things that we'll fall in love with. You know, so
Wow. And to go back a little bit on something you said there, you were talking about how, Jamie Foxx really resonated with you. Same skin color, you could really relate to him, seeing him on television.
yeah,
Back then, in 90s, even 2000s, uh,
yeah,
it was still television, movies was predominantly white. I watched a
yeah,
commercial yesterday, especially with DEI being such a hot topic now. I watched a commercial last night, and it's a Pampers commercial, and starts off
hmm,
with a white kid, then you have a black kid, then you have an Asian kid, all in the commercial. And even now with movies like Little Mermaid, looks a lot
yeah,
different than she did in 1989.
right,
So,
yeah,
and even the crayon boxes, you got crayon boxes out there now. And
mm,
I heard our commander talk about how, that really resonates with him because, as a kid, how are you supposed to see yourself as a superhero if you don't even have that color in the crayon box? And
right,
so, what does it mean to you to see not just, hey, I got people get certified on DEI and they can talk about it,
yeah,
but
hmm,
progression, and we're still a ways away, but progression is to where we are as a society today with it's not just, an office full of white guys from Mad Men.
yeah. I think I think the progress is beautiful, um, and I'm seeing some of the intentionality in our, like you said, movies and TV shows. Sometimes I think it's a little tone deaf, and it kind of comes off as an afterthought. But I see it, and I'm like, okay, cool. And one thing I pointed out to my wife, I think this kind of help you capture what I'm thinking. In 2010, I want to say it was. I remember I was in college, so it was either 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
We were watching TV, like all of us, like on the floor in the quad, and a Sprite commercial came on, and uh, it's an interracial couple. It's a white dude and a black girl, and she's laying on his arm. And then for anybody who's ever cuddled with anyone, you know his arm is about to die, but he will die if he moves it. So he whispers to her, "I love you," and she moves to give him a kiss, and that gives him his opportunity to grab the Sprite. So that's part of the whole joke. For me, I was like blown away because there is an interracial couple in a commercial on TV. And it's not on BT. It's not on like any special channel or anything. It's just like a regular. I think it was like a football. We were watching a football game or something, and nobody else in the room was blown away by that, but me. And from that moment forward, I started paying attention to commercials. And you'll see a family. You rarely see, maybe even today. I haven't been to the States in a long time, but I challenge anybody listening to this is to watch TV and uh, whenever commercials pop up, see if the family that they're trying to sell a car to or house insurance, whatever the commercial is about, how many interracial families there are, and how many same-sex couples, different backgrounds and stuff like that do you see? And I think in the States anyway, we've definitely made a lot of progress
Yeah.
when it comes to that. And I think part of that is enough people with the power to say something, realizing that it's too many people looking the same in the same room. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, you're right. Even in the States, like watching commercials, like I'm very intentional with that and watching it. And
Yeah.
it's the little things like that. Even Cialis commercials, all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
they're very diverse. And
Yeah.
I think Coca-Cola like was probably the ones that were trying to start that back
Mm.
in like 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It was celebrate the world with their stuff. But yeah, it's really like
Yeah.
you watch anything now, you can pretty much see it. Um,
Yeah.
but okay, so Also, I want to talk about, so you joined the Air Force. You mentioned you joined, you
Yeah,
you get in, you had to work off that limp. You made
yeah.
it through basic. What were some of the early struggles you went through in the military? You mentioned you were a villain for some.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I want to say I was an evil villain. I was just like a menace, you know. But like,
Were you that guy
and
that like be real with me here? Were you that guy that because I've seen people like this. They had a rough time as an airman, and then the
mhm.
second they get that extra 2 inches of cloth sewn on their arm, they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"My turn." And
Nah,
this is what I went through, so this is what you go through.
no, definitely wasn't like that. And I attribute that to my father uh, being really big on that man will keep the ground right underneath you. He'll keep you humble.
Hmm.
So my dad is my coach. So I told you about the PDS I made earlier. 5 people you need to be successful, and one of them is the coach. And my dad is my coach. So I did JROTC in high school, and my dad was my instructor. So he made sure like to keep me humble and to point out what it's like to be on the other side of someone being that type of leader. And I saw it so much in tech school and basic that I told myself I want to be like that. I saw other staff sergeants like that. So I wasn't like that. So I think by me being hyper vigilant to that, it made me, and I'm from Jersey, and short black kid named George. I got a smart mouth, man. So I think that's why I said like being a menace. Like I was real quick to sarcastically call someone out instead of what we've learned, you know, to call people up. So that's why I said I was a menace. But I say like my enlisted Air Force career started off tough is because before joining, I had to cut my safety net and reevaluate who I am as who is George Lennon Jr. Like not being in the shadow of my father, who was a great airman. He did so much in his career, and now he's a JRTC instructor. And then when I was joining, everyone like there were still people who my dad put in the Air Force. So I was like, dang man, like I gotta, who am I? So I was in ROTC at Rutgers University for 3 years. I went to field training and everything, but my grades and the money weren't adding up. So before I anything kept snowballing, I decided to get out of the program, and that sucked, man. To be 2 years away, I'm not ready. I don't know how to do school. I don't know how to manage money. I can't afford to keep going to the school. What am I going to do? And yeah, I remember that day, like staring in the mirror, crying,
Hmm.
feeling like a total F up because every time I go to the church, my mom would tell everyone at church that I'm studying to be a doctor. And my dad would tell everybody else that I'm about to be a second lieutenant, I'll be the first officer in the family, blah, 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 blah. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm about to drop out. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it sucked. But I had talked to the recruiter. I already had a plan to take the ASVAB, and I already told my parents, like, I'll pay rent. I already talked to I used to work at Wawa. I already talked to the manager about getting my job back, and she was going to hire me right away as a shift manager. So I came to them with a plan, and I think they respected that a lot. And my mom was like, well, I can make your plan better. We're going to make you a substitute teacher because you have enough credits. You just got to pay for the background check. And then you're going to make that money back like right away because there's so many teachers who are out for whatever reasons. And I did. So when I joined the Air Force, I told the recruiter, I was like, hey man, like I was pre-med. Uh, I got an 80 on the ASVAB. I listed all these medical jobs. And yeah, I just, I was, whenever it opens up, I'm going to go be medical, right? Substitute teacher. Man, I had a really great time being a sub, but there was this one school that was right outside of the projects. And one of the kids, man, like now that I'm older and way more mature, I realized like this child just needed a hug and a lot of mentorship. But he was acting up so much, I sent it attention. He comes back to the classroom 10 minutes later with a brick in his hand, snot coming out of his nose, eyes like from the security guard. because he snuck out of the school and had a brick in his hand and was like, "Which one is your car? I'm gonna bust the windows out of your car." And I was like, what do I do here? Because I can't uppercut this little kid who's about to, beat me with a
I'm
brick.
not going to tell you my
Um,
car either.
yeah, right. I was like, I don't know what's gonna, So I just try to play it cool because the other kids are gassing it up. And that day, the recruiter calls and he say, "Hey, man, somebody's supposed to leave in August. Are you down to go?" And I was like, "Dog, I need to leave today." Like, I had kids
He's
about to bust
basically
the
like,
windows out of my.
hey, someone's leaving in August, and yes.
Yes, yeah. Let me think about it. Yes, and he was like, "Yeah, it's open electrical." I was like, "All right, cool." Mind you, I listed everything medical. So when he said open electrical, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be the EKG dude to clear it.
I was gonna say
Oh, because
defibrillator,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah, because I don't know anything. I go to basic, and my dad was like, "Hey, like when you let you pick your job since you're open electrical, remember where the medical tech school is." And that was true when my dad was a recruiter. That's not true anymore. Medical tech school is no longer at Shepherd. So when I got my list of open electrical and it showed me like either E&E or civil engineering, which I didn't really know what that was, it said Shepherd and the other one said Shepherd and Keesler. I was like, all right, bet. I'm probably going to be this other one that's going to Shepherd. At graduation, my dad was like, "Yeah, so where's your tech school?" I was like, "Shepherd." He was like, "That's what I'm talking about, man. You're gonna get the job that you want." But hype for me. Block one of tech school, because I'm an electrician, is CPR. So I really think I'm medical because I'm at Shepherd.
And you're probably
People keep
telling
yelling
people in
C.
tech school that.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like just being low key about it because everyone keep yelling CE. So I'm thinking that's like cardiac, electrical, something, whatever. I didn't really get it. I never heard civil engineering before, so I didn't really get it. And they just kept yelling CE. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I remember for medical term, like, all right, whatever. They can have that. Block two, we start building stuff. And I asked my partner who doesn't speak a lot of English. I think he actually got his citizenship from after enlisting. And he's like, I was like, "Hey man, are they making us like build a hospital so we can appreciate it?" And he's like, "Sure, dude." And like waves to me to give him the hammer. Block three is when I realized when we do motors that yeah, I messed up. And I had another breakdown in my dorm room. And I was just like, "Yo, what am I doing? I just signed up for something. I have no idea what I'm doing." But in that same night, I vowed that I would become good at this. So that way I don't get anybody hurt. And that way no one can ever say that I purposely neglected to be good or try and do things like that. And that way I can get into whatever I really want to do. Um, so yeah, starting off, it was pretty tough, but I got good locations. So I went to Aviano. So that was a lot of motivation to get good at my job, and I was at a good place at the same time.
Yeah,
So
if things worked out for you. So
yeah.
we need a patch now that says CE, cardiovascular electrician, with with the
Just for me. Just for me
defibrillators
with
on it.
the yeah, just for me.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sure all of our CE people out there listening to this are just shaking their heads.
Yeah, yeah, this is like
In
idiot.
medical.
Yeah.
So you mentioned teaching a couple of times. You ended
Yeah.
up doing that. I mean,
Hmm.
talk about your mom speaking something into existence. How did that
Yeah.
process go for? I'm assuming you were probably at the early stages of developmental special duty.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just
Uh,
for our civilian listeners who don't know what in the world we're talking about. So, Air Force has developmental special duties in place where they feel like you've been performing at a high level in your career field. They'll pull you from it, pull you into another career field, basically, allow you to learn a new trade, such as instructing or recruiting. So, how did
yeah.
that go for you?
So I actually had talked to an RTC instructor back in Jersey because it was 2019. I was actually preparing to separate and go back to school. Try my hand. I'm older. I'm way more mature to commission, and I signed up for TAP for separation. And since I'm a victim advocate, I was briefing FTAC, at the time. And when I was done with my briefing, the career assistant advisor was like, "Hey, your squadron just called and said you got vectored to be ALS instructor." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know, but I haven't heard anything about an interview." And he was like, "No, they called because they're wondering, where your package is." I was like, "Oh, they're still going to submit me?" He's like, "Yeah, like the commander's ready, so that way, like he's staying late, so he could sign it." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shoot!" So I was like, "Dang, the squadron really sees me doing this. All right, cool." So submitted everything in that day and interviewed the next day. And man, I still was like, yeah, I probably ain't get it because some time went by, and I think it was like January 4th. Remember when the sync happened?
Hmm.
When they were going around to all the bases? Yeah, my group commander and the chief came up to me and was like, "Hey, like we're gonna have you brief uh, the sync leadership, so that way you can get used to public speaking again, since you'll be going over to Capone." And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I had asked to be in N2IC of EHOF, Einzielerhof, which is a base um, near Ramstein, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not going to Einzielerhof. You're going to Capone." I was like, "Capone? So why am I going there?" He was like, "Yeah, because you're going to be an ALS instructor." And I was like, "Oh yeah, they're just speaking it to existence." And they were like, "Congratulations." I was like, "Oh shoot,
Yeah.
that's nuts!" Like I really, oh snap! All right, dang, when? And that's how it started. And it was uh, the team was really welcoming. They were going over by me being an FTAC lead in the past, and then being a substitute teacher from February 2013 all the way to right before I left um, for basic in August. It kind of like was ingrained to me in like how to operate, run a classroom. But it was a little different because I was doing that with kids K through 12, and now being an FTech lead, I had to do it with people who had just joined the Air Force. Now I'm with people who are kind of seasoned, and I went through ALS at the schoolhouse, so I know how it can be. But I was like, you know what? I kind of can handle adversity pretty well, so we'll see what happens. Interview went well, I got picked up, but at first, I was overwhelmed because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I don't like to ask for help, which just goes against each other. Like if I was a perfectionist, but I was willing to ask for help all the time, I probably would be a lot farther than I am now. But uh, the it sucked because I was studying to teach the old curriculum, and then they're like, "Actually, we're just gonna let you wait one more class." Because the curriculum was changing next class. It's like, it doesn't make sense to evaluate
I know when
you on that.
exactly you went through. Yep.
Yep. And and it, I would say I only had one class that I was like, dang man, uh, uh, I can't wait to this class graduates, because the class right before we went fully virtual, and they found that out, and they're like, "Oh, so if we were in next class, we could have been home." Like, yeah, I guess. And we're like, and there, I had one student that was happy to be there. So that every day that was very like draining.
And that
But I
is
want to
draining though.
say, yeah, it's just like, come on, guys. Like,
Put some
one, you
effort.
got to be here. Yeah. Two, I want to be here. I'm not an instructor that
I
feels
want
like
to
I
have
got to be
fun.
here. Like, yeah, I want. Yeah, I came in here like playing music, like having a good time. Like I had my own little like thing that I would do in the classroom, like, and they were just, man, I had one student, you do that stare when you like throw up a question and you're just like, all right, if I
Mhm.
make eye contact with you, it's you. I'm good friends with him now, but I had this one student, I would throw up a question and I would look at him and he would stare at me. And it would be a staring contest. And he would win, obviously, because I was like, oh shoot, like I don't know if he's gonna jump over this table and like throw something
Yeah.
at me. But yeah, he was not having it, and it sucked because he was actually like a very intelligent student. He just wanted to be home doing ALS for some reason. But I would say the one lesson I learned the most was through me misunderstanding uh, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, right? So he says, "Put your mask on first," right? I don't know how I missed it. Maybe it's just the artist brain that I have, but I resonated as soon as I heard him say that. I was like, "Yep, that's how I have to be because it's not fair um, to my students." I took it as before I open up the door and walk into that classroom, no matter what I had going on at home, upstairs, with the other instructors, at work, whatever I had going on, like personally, my students and other people that I meet throughout the day do not deserve the negative energy or that hurt that I might have. I cannot project that on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally would mask up before walking to that classroom. And honestly, I taught 17 classes, 16 of them filled my cup.
Yeah.
They filled my cup every single time I walked through those doors. And even when they weren't feeling it and I wasn't feeling it, we were vulnerable together and it was good. And I told them that I was like, hey, like I totally misunderstood Chief Wright and I had this mask on that started to crack. And I realized that yes, I do need to give you the energy and the love you all deserve, but it's also okay to be like, hey guys, I'm really not feeling it today. Somebody tell me a joke or something like that. Like, and once I started being more vulnerable in that sense, like vulnerable in a professional sense, uh, I had such a better time and I was able to navigate the lesson so much better because I had a lesson where we taught emergent leadership issues, the lessons that talk about sexual
ELI.
assault. Yeah, all of those tough topics that shouldn't be taboo, but they are for some reason, and we only talk about them when something bad happens. And it just so happened to be around the anniversary that one of my friends had taken their life. And at the time, I think that yeah, that block is at the time it was eight, 4 hours long.
Split up.
And I had a student, I opened up the class saying like, yeah, I told my students, I was like, hey, like if you got any, I'm a new instructor. I said that every day. I was like, hey, it's my first day. I said that every class, but I was like, hey, give me feedback. And after those 4 hours, I had a student come up to me and he was like, hey, sir, I know you said to give you some feedback. I just want to say, we all know you're hurting, but I just want to let you know that we didn't talk for those past 4 hours. And I was like, oh, shoot. I literally was just trauma dumping on
Therapy.
my whole class. Like, yeah. And that's when I knew I was like, all right, cool. I need to go talk to somebody. And I really appreciated that I helped foster that environment where my student can come up to me and be like, hey, you're falling short here, sir. Like, I don't want you to do that again for another class, but like, we see you though. And I was pretty embarrassed to be honest. And I went back down there and told them, like, hey, like, this is part of the reason why all of that happened and stuff like that. But I just really love that my students were able to help mold me, help develop me. I guess why they call it developmental special duty, right? Um, but they helped develop me for real.
If you get out of a DSD and you haven't grown and learned a lot about yourself, you did it wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's good stuff. Really good stuff there. And after that, I mean, you've done well. I say after as while you were doing that, you did some other great things too. TEDx speaker. So
Yeah.
talk to us about how that took place.
So I would always see like TEDx clips like go viral, especially Simon Sinek. They actually weren't TEDx, they were TED Talks. Of Simon Sinek going viral. I was like, yo, I like what this dude's talking about. So I started clicking on TED videos and I was just like watching them, learning so much. Dang, like I just learned a lot in 18 minutes. It's crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
then TEDx started popping off and I was like, oh, what's TEDx? And I realized did a little bit of digging and TEDx is like pretty much like an independent version of TED, and they have their own rules and regulations. And I was like, okay, cool. I want to bring that to Ramstein because I had did storytellers. I did a storytellers event at Ramstein. I was like, I can do it. I do open mics off base. I'm a host. I know how to do that. I got friends that can help me do this logistically. I applied to be a TEDx host for Ramstein. The feedback I got was they wanted me to. They said try again after you've attended a TEDx or a TED Talk. Um, Maybe try being a speaker, and also try not to do it in a place where the community is specific. They were afraid that the community was too narrow at the time, that it would be only military trying to go, because I was trying to do it on Ramstein, like at the Hercules Theater, and they were like, yeah, like since it's not technically an institution, they were a little worried about that. So I took that feedback and I was like, man, I'm trying to host a TED Talk, but why don't you just try to be a speaker or something? Do something for it. Like I initially joined the TED and TEDx speakers community on Facebook so that way I can get on a board to kind of help someone else organize theirs so I can kind of learn how to do it. And while I was in there learning how to organize a TEDx event, I saw an ad they were looking for performers because they had already got their speakers. They had so many speakers that they needed an intermission. Me being a spoken word artist, sent an audition clip based on the theme that they had. And yeah, me, a singer from Hong Kong, we both got picked up and we performed. After getting selected, COVID smacked the world in the face. So I was about to fly out to London and all the practices and everything became virtual. Um, and you know what? It still counted. It still was a valid TEDx
Hey,
event, and I was a performer for it.
goes on that
That got my foot
LinkedIn.
in the door. Yeah, and I got to be, and it's always your title forever. And I got to go to the feedback sessions that all the speakers would have. So that gave me some insight on how to do my TEDx the following year when I auditioned. Um, I'll tell you what, me being an ALS instructor, um, in an environment where we embrace feedback and kind of like you expect it, in a positive way, I would say if I auditioned to be a TEDx speaker for that same community without ever being an ALS instructor, I probably would not have had a good time because these students who are younger than me, who I feel like I perform a lot, I'm on stage a lot, and these people who are younger than me, who are in college,
Well informed.
are they're giving me really good feedback, like the feedback sandwich. Hey, you did this great. Did you realize that you kind of do this, this, and this? As a listener, I kind of got distracted by this, this, and this. Maybe you should try this. Well, and then somebody pitching in, like, yeah, I saw that too. I do this and then like, boom, and sending me off with something else good. I was like, oh, that's all. I love this. This is dope.
Yeah.
Then other speakers like hit me up on the side, like, hey, if you want to practice with me, like, have extra time. I know, like, you're teaching everything. You got a baby on the way. Like, if you just want to call me and just practice your talk, you could do that. I can even put it on mute if you don't want to hear anything. And I was like, hey, this community is amazing. I love that. Um, So the whole event, unfortunately, Germany was locked down. So all the speakers who were from England were able to perform at the studio. But for mine, I had to perform it live in front of my camera. And we set it up all nice with
Remember that.
paintings that, yeah, it just attributed to what I was talking about. But then I had a week to go back and re-record it to look more professional for the actual TEDx website, which is cool that that lives there. Search lighting, like how to have professional looking lighting and stuff like that. Um, and it was just cool. I always wanted to do a TEDx, and I'm a big why not person, and I like living my life saying, uh, maybe I shouldn't have did that versus, dang, I wonder what if I would
Yeah.
have did that, you know? So
Yep. You and I were talking a little bit about that before we came on the air, where it's take those
yeah,
chances and do that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you mentioned spoken word.
yeah.
Susan Bodenheimer, my mother, is probably listening to this episode and has no idea about spoken. So
Okay, so
fill us in.
all right, so I'm a spoken word. I use the term spoken word artist, but interchangeably spoken word poet. The reason I say artist is because I do music, I do poetry to videos and things like that. I've written for some short films and things like that. But I'm a poet. I'm a poet, but not only do I write the poems, I express the poems. So that whether that be on stage, whether that be in competitions, whether that just be at a coffee house to a couple friends or something like that. But that's my art, and I just do it in so many different fashions over a vast amount of topics that relate to me, or relate to topics that I think the world should hear about and know about. And yeah, it's a art form that's been adapted into different things like R&B and rap, which stands for rhythm and poetry. So it's around us all the time. We grew up in school, you know, reading poetry. Maybe if we didn't realize it, my daughter's books that she has in here, I didn't realize they're all poems, pretty much. You know, they just kind of rhyme all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my craft. I'm a spoken word artist.
All right. I'm gonna try my hand at this. I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay, let's get
I've,
it.
I've been doing this at EPMEIC. This is one
Hmm.
that has been pretty popular around the PME world. All right.
Okay.
Tell me what you think. This might not be an original. It's it's after midnight and she's on your phone saying come over because she's all alone. I could tell it was your ex by your tone. Why is she calling now after so long? That's just a little sample. What do you think?
Man, that sounds good, man. I feel like that's a good song right there.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did Drake
Someone
write that?
close, Maya. But yeah. Okay. So speaking of, you you're doing so many good things. I mean, like author, you've got the Artisan Air series. I mean, just
Yeah.
tell our audience about everything you're doing out there. I feel like I can't keep up with you. I feel like you're doing like too many things.
I appreciate that. And I'm really bad at smelling up. So my book was published like right before my baby was born. So it was like blessing on blessings. But for me performing virtually, so this is the blessing for me from the quarantine kind of forcing us inside. I started performing virtually at poetry slams and open mics, like in different states and different countries. It's because you could do that if you just stay up late enough or wake up early enough. And at one of the events, the publisher for this publishing company called Red or Green Books in New Mexico was like, "Yo, we're publishing first time poets. Please tell me you got um, enough poems to like, you know, we can make a collection and push you out." And I was really apprehensive at first, but then eventually I jumped on it, and yeah, it just I didn't realize how many people really supported me as Fresh Linen, the spoken word artist. I sold so many copies that I had to contact the editor to buy more because I did a pre-sale. And what I decided to do, I hit up my old high school, and I always remembered that. And my mom kind of helped me get this off the ground too. But I always remembered as a kid when I went to the Merit Awards event and seeing like how many people I went to high school with who were seniors who did not get any money after graduating
Mm.
just because of their GPA wasn't like high enough. I remember telling myself, I was like, when I get rich, I'm going to make a scholarship at this school, and it's going to be able to like kids who have a 2.0 and they're into art, but they're also into like, you know, just trying to be a good person. Yeah, I'm gonna make a scholarship. You know, I was just like, still, I was fuming. I was really upset. Some of my friends didn't get stuff, and um, my mom was like, you know, you don't have to be rich to make a scholarship to school to money, as long as you made it honorably. You know, you're not out here drug dealing, and that's this drug money you're giving us. I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, like you can come up with your own essay topic, your own requirements, and that's what I did.
Mm.
Uh, my essay question is, how does art, specifically performing art, preserve the past while changing the future? The senior will get $250. So they'll write the essay. They just have to have, I think, yeah, they have to have at least a 2.0, at least two clubs, and that could be a club and a sport, and then write this essay. And of course, have a good record of not getting in trouble in school. But the responses I get are stuff I couldn't even dream of. Like the students are amazing. My first scholarship winner, she graduated high school with her associate's degree, and it just felt good that like I was able to give her $250. But not only was I able to give her $250, but the proceeds from my book helped pay for that.
Mm.
So all the people that pre-ordered and purchased my book, um, within these past 3 years, you guys helped me, excuse me, past 2 years, you helped me give money to, my high school, which accumulates to about $1 million in merit awards every year. So I appreciate that. And it's just cool to give back to my community. And I can't wait to like, this is the lineup, right, that I can be there at the graduation to congratulate that student. My parents have been going on my behalf. Um, and I tend to forget about that, unfortunately, like that how important that would be for me to actually show up to do it. $50, like they're not gonna want to see me. They're probably wanting more money or something like that. But my parents tell me like that. The winners so far, I've really wished, you know, they could have met me and stuff like that, which is crazy, to me. It just feels good. But the Artist in Air series, man, I'll never delete an Air Force survey again. And I'll say that forever. So they sent out a survey in like June or maybe May 2021. And we were teleworking at this time. We were teaching ALS virtually. I think most of the Air Force that could be teleworking was teleworking. And yeah, I got the email and I saw it was another survey and I was like, delete. It's not a polo survey. It's not a Deox, delete. And within that same week, a couple of my mentors in the Air Force and friends they forwarded me the email like, yo, there's this survey they sent out looking for artists in the Air Force. You should fill it out. I'm like, for what? What's it gonna do? Is it another demographic? Like, I'm not trying to get put in band flight again, like so
Pop
I
symbols
eventually
or
filled it
something.
out. Yeah, I was like, let's see what happens. So I filled it out, and it pretty much just asked like, what's your craft, your main two crafts, and send us links. I was like, oh, all right, easy enough. No, cool, do that. Filled it out, sent it in, forgot about it, and I was looking for an email later on in my personal email, and then I have one email in my spam. I was like, what the heck? And it's a response from that survey from Richard Cooper from the uh, services at San Antonio, and I'm like, oh, oh, dang, I got a call back. Hold up, and it's like scheduling a Zoom interview. I was like, oh snap! So I hit up my friends who I forwarded to. I'm like, y'all, please tell me y'all filled out that survey because I just got a message, and they didn't, which kind of got on my nerves. But pretty much Rich told me he was like, hey, like pretty much there was a conversation on how can we reach what's another interesting way to reach our total force, and him along with another person he works with, uh, Gary, were like, well, why don't we just highlight artists in the Air Force? And they were combated with, well, if they're that good, they probably wouldn't be in the Air Force. And Rich responded, well, you should let me find out. And they allowed him to send a survey to the total force, including the Space Force. So that's Guard, Reserve, active duty. And he got 407,000 responses.
Wow.
And they had to sift through those. Yep, they sifted through all of them, and they picked 30 artists to highlight. But I was like, all right, cool. Like, is it like a AFNPA type highlight? No. They're at the time they were working on what is out now, the Artist in Air series, like the contracts, the legal stuff, and what the package looks like. It's like just have faith. I just need to know, are you down? And I was like, I'm all the way down. I was down from the moment you said, can we get the Zoom interview? Like, you tell me what you need. And he was like, just keep creating. Just keep creating. Be intentional about your process and stuff like that. Start thinking about that. Keep creating. Keep doing what you're doing. But we're going to film. We're going to film you. We're going to make a whole episode about you and
Wow.
about fresh linen. And also, by the way, he's in the Air Force. Like, it's going to be focused on you as an artist, and then we're going to tie in a little bit about you being in the Air Force, which I was awesome. So they flew us out. We had the scheduled times, but they flew us out to Austin, Texas, and based on our craft and our vibe and our type of energy that we show in like our social media and the way our craft is, they booked venues for us to showcase our art. So I'm the only spoken word artist shown right now in this season, but there's rappers, singers. There's a woman who does pottery, a cosplayer. There's a dude who makes movies. Um, if you look at this season right now, there's another five that comes out tomorrow. But this season, the first five episodes, one of the singers there went on tour with Patti LaBelle. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, this amazing bunch of artists. Um, this is so cool, and we're all like in the same like group chat. We all like follow each other and support each other.
Super
So I'm
cool.
loving it, and I'm hoping some one day we can get. You know how they have the pack.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping we can get a conference like this where all of us can possibly meet and have like maybe some guest speakers or something talking about, how to have your passion pay your bills and stuff, like how to serve and also serve yourself when it comes to art. But it's just funding right now. So if anybody who got the bucks listen to this, like I think it would be a good idea. It's just me, little
That's
old me.
super cool. That is super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been following you on social media and
yeah,
seeing all
it's
it just feels like it's one thing after the other. But for listeners out there, like if they want to find out any and everything about you, like book, links to your performance, like where all can you send them to?
You can go to freshlinencreates.com. That'll have all my social media links. It'll have my clothing brand Flow that I started, even video clips. You can buy the book there. There's a link to even donate to the scholarship, which the money gets sent straight to the school. Yeah, everything is at Fresh Linen Creates. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Uh, I'm on TikTok, but not really. I'm trying to
Don't say that. Don't
be
say that in the military.
on. Yeah, yeah, I'm not really trying to be out there on there, but whatever I post on Instagram art wise is I post that same art on TikTok. Um,
Okay.
so yeah.
Question for you. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
So retired because I'm about to hit 10 years.
Oh, so you're hitting it right
I
at 20.
what'd you say?
So you're hitting the button right at 20.
Oh, that's what I say right now. That's what I say right now.
I'm at 14.
Yeah,
20, it's 6 more years, and 6 years will go by fast. 6 years,
yeah,
I plan on hitting the button unless they give me some sort of assignment that I'm like,
yeah.
Japan?
Can't turn it
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what it makes. If it makes sense for my family to stay in, then
100%.
all right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, but yeah, I see myself. I'm already kind of living where I see myself, which makes me feel good. But I want to see me writing and performing poetry um, for movies, TV shows, more mainstream media. Hear myself on the radio and stuff like that. And I want to see myself also helping other artists like me develop. I also, on the other side of that, uh, right now I'm studying for my exercise science degree, sports medicine. I want to be a physical therapist. If not a physical therapist, definitely want to be on a sports medicine team as sports trainer or athletic trainer. Uh,
That's what I was doing. Physical
yeah,
therapy.
and yeah,
Yep. I
yeah,
was
that's what I want to do.
PTA for a while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's sync up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's what I want to do. And hopefully a couple babies. We want to have three total. So, but for my art, definitely. Uh, so I'll tell you guys something cool. So I have a spoken word album out. I call it Breath of Fresh Air. The cool thing about, if you know anything about the Grammys, usually you need someone to represent you to submit your album to be even considered for the Grammys. But because spoken word artists are not mainstream, we don't really have labels. And we were lumped in with audiobooks and comedy as well. We kind of petitioned in a sense. Our people petitioned at all the voting members in the Grammys petitioned to get spoken word poetry to be its own category.
Mm.
That was rebutted with, if you can give us 100 spoken word poetry albums, we'll consider giving you your own category. So all I have to say is in 2021, I recorded a spoken word poetry album. Uh, didn't mix it, didn't master it, just submitted it. And Jay Ivy submitted my album on, yeah, it's submitted on his behalf, and it's pretty awesome to get that that signed letter from him saying like, hey, like thanks for what you do, like you're helping change the future for the way the Grammys work. So I didn't get nominated, but the fact that Jay Ivy was like, hey
Yeah.
man, thanks, like that put me up there. And I'm working on my next album now that'll come out next Father's Day in 2024, called Papa, Protector and Provider Always.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it'll be submitted to the Grammy. So who knows? Maybe I'll be Grammy nominated. Maybe I'll be a Grammy winner. Um, and yeah, so that's one of my goals within the next 10 years, to be Grammy nominated for my art because I don't know, I feel like I got it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a spoken word artist, but yeah, I'm different. And I my little sister, I told you guys earlier that she just graduated from USC in cinematic arts. She's amazing. She did a documentary called A Proper Education," and it's about the lack of sex education in the United States. It's very interesting. It's a short film, and I'll send it to you later so
Yeah.
you can check it out. Um, and it's I got to do the music for it. So like I told you guys earlier, I dabble with music, and she hit me up. She's like, "Hey, bro, we need some upbeat type of like quirky, fun like jingle or song." And remember, I told you I wanted to be Jamie Foxx when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And if you ever watched the Jamie Foxx show, that was his job. He made jingles. So when she hit me up with that, I jumped on it right away. And as a perfectionist and as somebody who's sensitive about my stuff, quoting Erica Badu, I sent it to her thinking she would hate it, and she said her whole casting crew, like loved the or her whole crew loved the music that I sent. So if you watch her documentary, my music is in the very beginning and it's in the credits at the very
Nice.
end.
Man, you are
Yeah.
all over the place. Also, if y'all get a chance, check out his Rise from the Shadows episode, season 1, episode 9. You talked about vulnerability. In that one, very good
Hmm.
episode. Probably the coolest cover art still to this day. I think any that I've
Thank
heard.
you.
So still
Thank you.
definitely the coolest cover art. But yeah, what final comments you got for our listeners?
Man, I appreciate you guys supporting the Shadows so much because listen to podcasts, and I didn't really understand why people listen to podcasts. And then I started listening to this one and just meeting different people, and I really like the way you do it. And I know the support from others helps you get there. It helps you keep doing it. So I just want to say to everybody listening, um, thank you for supporting this. Thank you for supporting podcasts in general, because I definitely was very ignorant to podcasts before being introduced to this one and others. And for anyone who's a creative and maybe in your head about what good or great looks like, I started creating for wellness for myself. And I think if you could look in the mirror and you like what you create and you like what you do, um, and you're able to share that, and regardless of somebody's reaction, you still feel good about what you create, keep going for it. And that's how I got started. I just created for myself. I was like, all right, I need to write about this. I want to write about this poem. I want to sing this song. I want to do that. And even if people didn't like it, I knew I liked it. And one of my favorite artists, uh, music artists, is Andre 3000. And he says that his friends say, hey, you need to practice your out of tune. And he says to them, do you cry in tune? Do you laugh in tune?
Hmm.
And that to me was like, okay, cool. I can just art out loud. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's my message to you guys, is spreading his message. So
Final question: best Outcast song?
best.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like the art of storytelling. Because that's what got me to like write the way I write. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that one for now.
Okay.
But man, yeah, you making me dive deep right now. Did you know that people didn't know "Hey Ya" was a sad song?
Yeah, I actually read about that. I think in Power of Habits.
Hmm.
I think they talk about it in Power of Habits. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was considered like annoying, and no one's gonna like it. And yeah,
yep,
yep, yeah.
yep,
Actually, good little history behind that song.
yeah,
I think they're right up from the road from me here in Atlanta, right?
yeah. But 3000 fell out. Andre 3000 fell off the map, so he was just spotted playing his flute in Japan for some reason. But live your best life. Look at him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you doing
Yeah,
this and doing your thing with everything that you're out there doing and saying. So now, when you become a Grammy Award winning artist, I can say that Grammy Award winning artists listen to the Shadows podcast. But to all of
it's
our
true. It's true.
listeners out there, definitely, if y'all like what we're doing, definitely go to Spotify, Apple, or theshadowspodcast.com. Leave us a review. Those reviews help. Also, we're going to have all the links in the episode description. I got a feeling this is going to be like stacked with links. This maybe one of the most stacked links and right clicks that we're going to have of any other episode before. But you're doing great stuff. I appreciate it. Folks, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Shadows Podcast.